Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 6:10 a.m. East Coast time, Sunday, August 25th. We just updated or uploaded the one-game NFL slate that is tonight. NFL preseason has been fantastic, but today we have a full slate of baseball. We have an 11-game, a 3-game, and then a showdown slate at night. I have all 3 games on here, or all 3 slates on here. I'll be breaking down the 11-game slate first. If you're interested in the 3-game slate, down below in the description right away, you can click that link and it'll take you right to where the 3-game slate starts in this analysis. So if you already have your thoughts on the long slate or the long slate, the 11-game slate is over. Now you want to play the mini slate, the 3-game slate. We'll briefly touch on that slate as well. So with that said, let's get to the 11-game slate. We'll start it off. Down below, there is an NFL Daily Fantasy course. There are my Patreon overall for these stat sheets and my podcast later in the day. During the week, that podcast will be out every single day. On the weekends, it will be infrequent depending on the NFL schedule. So you can check that out as well. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS. My MLB overall YouTube content, once the NFL season starts, is going to kind of dwindle. So this last week, right now, this week coming up is going to be the last week of full MLB YouTube videos. If you want all of my content for the MLB, it will still be on Patreon in a Patreon exclusive weekday podcast. So with that said, let us break down this 11-game slate. So I'm going to start it right off with Shane Bieber. Look, he's $11,800. There's a lot of good pitchers on this slate when you have 5 of them above 10K. Robbie Ray at $9,800, and then you have a 3 above $11,000. Once you start to get up there, it's just a matter of who you want to choose, the matchup, whatever it might be. Right now, the Royals, there's still 2 to 3 games that I'm waiting on an implied run total because, again, it is 6 in the morning. I just updated it. So 6.23 innings pitched per start for him. He's a huge favorite, biggest on the slate out of any of these slates so far at 320. The Royals have the lowest implied run total at 3.2. He has the best SIERA on the slate. He has the best walk percentage on the slate. He strikes out 32.4% of batters. That is the best on the slate with at least a decent sized sample. He has the highest strikeout rate on the slate at 31%, although Robbie Ray and Cole Hamels overall are very close. Lots of things to like here. The Royals, 141 ISO since June 15th. That is top 5 in the league in terms of how bad it is. They don't strike out all that much though, but Bieber's strikeout rate, and again, the Royals finding this stat, teams or pitchers that have a 30% or higher strikeout rate, they strike out above league average, which is normal for a lot of teams, but it just goes to show you that although they're stingy with the bats, when they face a guy who's overpowering, he will overpower them. So Shane Bieber is my first interest out of the 5 so far. And this slate, I should say, is going to be very interesting to see the ownership on it, only because there's so many good top-end pitching, at least name value, like Matt Boyd has not been good as of late, and he's facing Minnesota, so I doubt he becomes highly owned. But just in terms of name value, lots of good names up there. And then when you get to the mid and low range, there's a lot of players where I can see myself going, you know what, yeah, in this mid-range more so than the low range, that makes sense to get to him or get to 2 of those players and just avoid the top range. Second interest today is going to be Aaron Nola. I would project Aaron Nola right now without looking at anything to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. It's 11-game slate. He's $11,000, which is actually affordable. He's going to be pitching in Miami against Miami, a team that strikes out 25.3% of the time versus righties. That is going to be the top 4 on the slate. They also have a 137 ISO, second worst in the league, only to the White Sox, who are on the slate versus Brock Burke today. And then you have Aaron Nola, who is very, very good. He is the best Philly starter by a mile, and that doesn't say much about their rotation, but 26.8% overall strikeout rate. Does strike out more lefties than righties, so that's a little bit worrisome since he won't face any today in the lineup. Gives up a 145 ISO to righties though. That's good. The only problem with Aaron Nola really more so is 9% walk percentage, and the fact that a couple of things. His called he leads he's tops in the league in called strike percentage, which is not good, which is good but not good compared to a pitcher who is going to be over dominating or dominating you. Called strike percentage is something that I would argue would regress quicker than just dominating guys with your strikeout stuff. You can just get by on them instead of relying on your stuff to be that accurate and that effective. You can just get guys to actually swing when you're not that effective based on deception, just based on breaks on your pitches. So I think he's still good. I have no worries with that today against a team that strikes out a ton anyways. But the big thing to point out is he gives up a 173 ISO to lefties compared to a 145 ISO to righties. So when he gets hit, his 1.23 home run per 9 is nothing atrocious or anything like that. Or egregious, I guess the word should be. But he does get hit more so from lefties than righties, so it's good to see that he does not take out righties pretty easily when he's going to be facing 8 to 9 today. So yeah, Aaron Nola probably going to be the most highly owned pitcher on the slate with good reason. Huge minus 200 favorite with the win upside today. I like the fact that he goes 6 innings pitched per start. In a start like this against Miami, I would be surprised if he doesn't get to the 6th inning, potentially even the 7th. So my third interest. And here's the thing, those 2 guys in the top range make sense. Steven Strasburg against the Cubs. He is the most underrated pitcher on the season, in my opinion, relative to just because of the players on his team. And Scherzer and Corbin, he's just not as talked about, at least not in the DFS or real-life baseball, so I don't know where else he'd be talked about, maybe in the Washington media. But yeah, the matchup against the Cubs, if the ownership on Aaron Nola what I suspect it to be, like around 30%. And Shane Bieber maybe comes in with his matchup and his over-dominating stuff, best strikeout pitcher, at least in statistically on the slate. And he comes in at like 15%, and then you're getting Steven Strasburg sub 10%. I'm just going to go to Steven Strasburg. The upside there is huge. These Cubs are not as good as people actually think that they are. So just keep that in mind, that there are viable pivot spots. I probably don't pivot to Trevor Bauer or Matt Boyd. Trevor Bauer's facing Pittsburgh today, and he struggles against lefties. There'll be about 4 to 5 lefties in that lineup, and some of them with a lot of power. And he just struggles against lefties overall. 227 ISO against them. Strikes out 31% of righties compared to 24.5% of lefties. I'm just not going to get there. And then you also take into account that Pittsburgh strikes out the least in the league since June 15th against right-handed pitching, less than 18%. Matt Boyd, I can't get to Matt Boyd against the probably best home run hitting, best power team in the entire league against lefties since the start of June at 261 ISO. They only strike out 19% of the time. Matt Boyd's just giving it up left and right over the past month of the season. And then just going down more and more, I want to see some of these totals on these games. The Mets actually have a decently low implied run total of 4.4 today, which is interesting. For an afternoon game, it's going to be in Citi Field, so that's good. You get a ground ball pitcher in Dallas Keuchel, goes 6 innings pitched per start, almost a 60% ground ball rate, which is just ridiculous. 59.8%, 18.7% ground ball rate, or fly ball rate, 18.7% to a 59.8% ground ball rate. 31.4% of lefties he strikes out, which is an elite number. Doesn't strike out any righties, although his strikeout rate against righties is slowly coming up. At one point this year, it was like 10%. Now it's 17.3%. So gives the power to both sides of the plate, more so lefties and righties. But you get a team right now in the Mets who are very, very average, actually below average against lefties, a 171 ISO compared to a 196 ISO against righties since the start of June. They don't strike out a ton, but what you're getting out of Dallas Keuchel, you hope to get a guy who goes deep into the games. And now he's a ground ball pitcher who kind of at least tries to avoid damage, although his 1.51 home runs per 9 says otherwise. But he's set up to avoid damage in this ballpark. So I'm going to add him to my interest. The only reason I didn't have him in my interest at first was mainly just because he is a guy who's 8,900, and your major upside with him is, can he get you to the 6th or 7th inning and get the win? Like your upside is not, if he gives up 2 runs in the first inning, you're kind of screwed because he doesn't have the strikeout stuff to kind of rebound from that. And his pitch count is really the best thing that's going to be working in your favor. So 8,900 is like $1,000 too expensive for me, but the fact that he's in Citi Field today helps a little bit more. Very pitcher-friendly ballpark. My fourth interest is going to be Martin Perez against Detroit. Look, Martin Perez started the year off hot. Now he's just battling to stay in the rotation. There's talks and whispers about him going into the bullpen and not being in the rotation anymore, but that's not going to happen today. And he gets Detroit. It's just a very friendly matchup. He's 8,100. You save 800 off of Keuchel. He's not a great strikeout pitcher. Dallas Keuchel is actually a better strikeout pitcher, which you never really hear Dallas Keuchel being called a good strikeout pitcher, but he's just better than Martin Perez is. But the matchup against Detroit is just something that's kind of hard to ignore. The 4.96 SIERA is not great. The 9.6% walk percentage is not great. The spot where you like to see Martin Perez, or you kind of like getting to him, is clearly the matchup against Detroit. They strike out 27.4% of the time versus righties, 25.2% of the time versus lefties, which Perez is. A 142 ISO against lefties since June 15th is dead last in the league. So weakest power hitting team versus lefties, a top 5 strikeout team versus lefties, and now you get a guy in Martin Perez who at least he has elite ground ball stuff, 49.9%, only a 28.7% fly ball rate, below 30, that's pretty much elite. And then 33.7% hard hit percentage is not that terrible. Good. The football video just uploaded to YouTube. Perfect. So Martin Perez, honestly, he's like a sitting duck in this mid-range that I probably don't get much to because I'll probably be paying up and paying down. But it's worth noting that him and Dallas Keuchel in the mid-range stand out to me today. I should also note that Steven Matz against Atlanta. Atlanta only has a 4.2 implied run total. I imagine some of that is because they're playing in Citi Field, which is going to limit overall home runs. But very interesting to see Steven Matz in his 1.54 home runs per 9 only implied against him is 4.2 runs in a very powerful Atlanta team. I was very confused by that. I'm not sure if anybody else was. You can let me know if there's some reason that there's 2 or 3 starters in the Atlanta lineup not playing today. I don't know. So fifth interest so far, Shane Bieber, Nola, Keuchel, and Perez. Fifth interest, and also if you're still watching, hit the subscribe button. If you have not yet, we crushed through 6,500 subscribers. I'm projecting 10,000 subscribers by the end of October, beginning of November for football season. So why not get there a little quicker? Help me out, gang. So fifth interest, and this is a very not that convicted interest, but Framber Valdez. He has just a 59.7% ground ball rate, 18.2% fly ball rate. Framber Valdez, he has a higher SIERA by far. His ERA is way too high. He's getting very unlucky in that department, but still bad. Now, Dallas Keuchel has a much better SIERA than him, and he also strikes out a lot more lefties. But overall in lineups, you're not going to face too many lefties. This Angels team has been striking out a ton over the past month of the season. They've not been that good. He's a huge favorite, more so because his offense is going up against Jaime Barrea than him actually being a good pitcher. But the Angels are only implied for 4.3 runs today. It's actually risen from 4.2 that it opened at. I'm going to keep an eye on that. 6,600. Look, he's not a great pitcher. You're hoping to get 10 points out of him. As of right now, he is starting. I don't think he's no long reliever. So he's interesting. I wish he was, and he probably should be $1,000 cheaper instead of 6,600. He should probably be in the 5K range. But keep an eye on it. I think there's a lot of upside, at least for the win from him. He doesn't give up much power to lefties. He gives up power to righties. So obviously there's a lot, 5, 6, 7, probably 6 or 7 righties in that lineup. But yeah, he's an interesting spot because there's a low implied run total, and he has probably, as long as he can get you 5 innings, which is definitely a big if, the upside for the win today. And then my final interest, and I hate this guy, so I'm going to look deeper into this. If I do a podcast later today or an article, I'll let you know. It is the weekend, so I do have on there on Patreon, it should be notified that on the weekends when the NFL season starts, less and less podcasts will come out just due to the fact that there's a lot of work to be put into NFL. But there's only one game tonight, so as long as I'm in the neighborhood on a Sunday, I should be able to get to it. Did one yesterday, though, so I'll try and get something up. But Waka is a favorite today against Colorado. Big part of that is because Anthony Sensatelli, who, in my opinion, is 1A, 1B with Edwin Jackson, is the 2 worst pitchers in the league. He's going up against St. Louis, the Cardinals today, and his team, and they're going to just be implied for a higher run total, so he benefits from being the favorite there. I think he's a bad pitcher. 5.19 Sierra, walks 10% of batters, 1.92 home run per 9. But Vegas, at least today, thinks a little bit otherwise because they have Colorado projected as of right now, a 4 implied run total team. Now, I'm still waiting on a couple more run totals, but it's at least good to see that they're only implied for 4 runs. He gives up only 30.8% fly balls, not too many ground balls. Overall, everything else, though, not the greatest. The matchup, though, against Colorado, they're an average to below average team since June 15th in terms of how much power they have and how much they strike out against right-handed pitching. So what you're looking for here is he's 5,700. Who is below him? I'm not playing Sensatelli against St. Louis. He's the worst pitcher in the league. Not playing Zach Davies against the Diamondbacks. Agrazil, so Dario Agrazil or Grazel, 10.7% strikeout rate. No thank you. 5.92 home run per 9. No thank you, Cincinnati. Their run total's not out yet, but I imagine they'll be one of the highest owned teams on the slate due to their run total today. Jaime Barrea against Houston. No thank you. So in terms of the cheapest I'd go, it would be Michael Wacha. Eric Skoglund has not played this year in the majors. He gets to face Cleveland today. I don't know if Cleveland's run total is out. Let's look, because Skoglund has not been doing well in the minors this year. Yeah, Cleveland 5.9 implied run total, so I'm not getting there. And when he gets down to that, now you're in the 6K range. So in terms of giving you an option in the 5K range, it's going to be Michael Wacha, the most win upside, the lowest implied run total against him. Honestly, terrible stuff, but so does everybody else below 6K. Brock Burke against the White Sox, he's going to have actually a decent implied run total against him. The White Sox have a 4.7 implied run total. I don't have much interest in this guy in his very small sample so far, although in week 1 he pitched pretty well, or not week 1, his first game. I believe he had like 18 fantasy points. He went like 5 or 6 innings. He struck out a bunch of lefties. So the White Sox are a decent matchup. So maybe I get some Brock Burke. We'll look into that more as the day goes on, potentially in an updated podcast or article on Patreon. So right now, Shane Bieber and Aaron Nola in the top range stand out to me. In the mid range, Dallas Keuchel and Martin Perez. In the low range, Framber Valdez at 6,600 is like a meh play to me. I'll get all the way down to Michael Wacha at 5,700. I'm going to look more into Brock Burke today. So that is the 11-game slate. Let us now, and I'll officially start this, let us now get into the 3-game slate. If you're not going to watch anymore, thank you for watching. I appreciate it if you could subscribe. Hit that notification bell as well. And on YouTube or on Twitter, hit me up at Mlb Dfs. Hit the follow button there. Down below, there's some free guides. There's my DFS course. You can check all that out. So in terms of this later slate, and let me get the run totals up for this 3-game afternoon slate that we have here. Nothing stands out like in a major department. In terms of like overall run totals. The fact that the Red Sox have the lowest implied run total now is just ridiculous. So let's just analyze these quickly. So yeah, nothing stands out, as you can see. Just a 5.3 implied run total for an afternoon game. I mean, that's high, but relative to the other slate where we see a couple of teams in the 6 or above 5.5, it's not the highest. So with that said, my interest for today, and it's just disgusting that the pitchers that we actually have to choose from today. Wow, Clay Buchholz is pitching. I had no idea that Clay Buchholz was still in the majors. That's crazy. So interest for today. So Joey Lucchesi is going up against the Red Sox. They have the lowest implied run total. That's going to scare a lot of people off to pitch Lucchesi, the guy with the second highest strikeout rate on the slate. So this is an interesting slate for a few reasons. You have Joey Lucchesi, who's the most expensive pitcher, the most talented pitcher on the slate, facing the Red Sox, who have the lowest implied run total and the most talented and dangerous lineup on the slate. So, I mean, you trust Vegas there, don't you? Or do you? So that's scary in that department. Marco Gonzalez at 8,600, which means he's probably overpriced, but Toronto has the second implied run total, right? Second lowest implied run total on the slate. Yeah, at 4.4. And this is a team that has been dealing with a little bit of injuries, but it seems like Vlad Guerrero Jr. is back. This team does strike out 23.3% of the time versus lefties, but they also have power against righties. A 211 ISO is not slacking anything against or lefties, which Marco Gonzalez is. So, I don't want to get to Lucchesi. I don't want to get to Gonzalez. Brian Johnson has just been absolutely pitiful this year. He's lucky if he goes into the third inning. His Sierra is a 5.4, only strikes out 17.2% of batters. All the power in the world to righties, 253 ISO. There's a really good chance that the Padres are the best overall stack on the slate, even without Tatis Jr., and it makes sense that they have a 4.8 implied run total. I thought it would be higher, to be honest with you. I think that might be a little undervalued. It's already risen, though. You can see it's risen the most, 0.2 runs it's come up by. It started at 4.6, now it's at 4.8. So overall, this is just a disgusting slate. And then we haven't even gotten into the fact that Logan Webb, who might be the actual best value and type pitcher on the slate, is going up against Oakland today. I mean, the guy in Logan Webb, limited sample size for sure, but high strikeout rate, hasn't given up much power. But he goes up against the overall Oakland, the A's, who have the highest implied run total at 5.3 on the slate. So it's very hard to choose from. Clay Buchholz against Seattle. Don't know what to expect from Buchholz today. Brett Anderson, a good ground ball pitcher, gets San Francisco today, who has a low implied run total, so I imagine people get to Anderson. That's just like a general rundown of the slate. I don't think I get to Lucchesi today. I think I'd rather go to a lower-owned Boston stack if that's what we'll see. We'll see what the ownership looks like. In terms of pitching interest, I know that Oakland has a high implied run total, but I'm going to get to Joe Webb. I'm going to get to, in the football mode, I'm going to get to Logan Webb at $7,700 today. At least as of right now. I'm going to break down into it a little bit more, but you have to pick 2 to 3 options on a 6-game slate to choose from. Definitely 2 if you're playing on a 2-pitcher site. And I probably get more so to somewhere in the neighborhood of a Brett Anderson, a Logan Webb, and a Marco Gonzalez more times than not today. Those are the 3 guys that I would have interest in. Look, it's a matter of you have to pitch 2 pitchers today. Lucchesi is good. Doesn't strike out righties, gives up power to righties, walks guys. Now I can point out the good things, right? Nice ground ball percentage, nice hard hit percentage, strikes out lefties, doesn't give up that much power to lefties, but it's the Red Sox. And this team against lefties is a 246 ISO. That is the top 3 in the entire league, only behind the Yankees and only behind the Twins in terms of how much power they have since June 15th against left-handed pitching. I am not going to Joey Lucchesi. I don't care that they have a 4.3 or a 4.5 implied run total today. I'll have to see what that Red Sox lineup looks like, but I don't have interest too much in Lucchesi. Definitely don't have interest in Brian Johnson. I'm probably going to be stacking the Padres more so than anybody else. Don't have interest in Clay Buchholz at 6,300. So yeah, it's going to be Logan Webb, Brett Anderson, and Marco Gonzalez. If you want to pitch Logan Webb and Brett Anderson, you're going to have all the money in the world. You'll only be spending about $14,000, maybe a little bit less overall in terms of being able to fit any stack you want into this roster. I don't think you'll have too much problem with salary. So that's where I'm at right now. My interests are going to be Logan Webb, Brett Anderson, and Marco Gonzalez for the later slate. Although Joey Lucchesi has the lowest implied run total against him, that is very, very shaky for a pitcher who, in my opinion, I don't think Vegas is ever, I'm not going to say that they're wrong compared to my thoughts because those are experts, but at this point, with the amount of research I've been putting into stuff, I can kind of say that I'm getting closer to them. I still rely on them and their algorithms and whatever for everything. Definitely way smarter than I am and know a lot more than I do, just computerized and all the data and the historical data that they have. But this does not seem like the chance on a 3-game slate where I pitch Joey Lucchesi against the Red Sox if I'm only making 1 to 2 to 3 lineups. So hopefully that helps. It's a very brief rundown of the 3-game slate. In terms of hitting, yeah, I like the Padres. I like the Red Sox as sort of a leverage off Lucchesi if I'm already not playing him. Padres against Brian Johnson, for sure, like that a lot. So hopefully this helps. Thank you if you just kind of watched the brief 3-game slate rundown. Again, it is Logan Webb, Anderson, and Gonzalez in no order. Definitely don't want any of Brian Johnson. Probably don't get to much Buchholz unless you need the salary relief, but I don't think I'm going to get there. And yeah, Lucchesi is somebody who I probably pivot away from today, although I think a lot of people do. So if Lucchesi ends up being low owned, if you have ownership projections on a site that you use or a provider that you use, if he's going to be very low owned, then maybe it's worth some darts. But as of right now, I don't suspect that to happen. A lot of people weight Vegas heavily. So thank you if you watch both of these, the 11-game slate and the 3-game slate. If you're just tuning in for the 3-game slate, thank you. I appreciate it if you can hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It'll let you know when I go live for NFL. It'll let you know when I upload some more videos. And then also, if you can follow me on Twitter at SalVetrianDFS, helps me out a ton. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. My name's Sal. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Peace out, gang.